So it's finished. Manchester United 1, Burnley 0 at full time after an excellent goal from Bruno Fernandes. And if I was to sum up the game in about 30 seconds right now, I'd say Evans, Bruno Fernandes, and Hannibal Mejbri had a really good game. What they did, which was really good, is they showed energy without the ball, which is something Man United are massively missing. I think something that's causing us problems, and maybe something that's causing a lot of our training issues, is the lack of fitness. A lot of our players don't have the ability to run much off the ball, but Hannibal did that. Bruno did that really well. They had the energy and athleticism to match up with Burnley. And where Man United have looked really off the pace all season is that athleticism. Even players like Scott McTominay, who used to be praised for his work rate, even though we know he's not good enough, he was awful and his athleticism was awful. It's like he's got really unfit, but he was really good for Scotland. Which I think, wow, I think Scott McTominay knows the manager doesn't want them and probably not playing for the manager, in all honesty. But I have to say, I think, out of possession, we were pretty bad, other than Bruno and Hannibal Mejbri and Evans. I thought out of possession were pretty bad. I think Rashford was poor. He was overthinking things. He didn't trap back in the first half. I think Ten Hag must have said something to him at half time, because he did trap back more in the second half. But sometimes he left his man in the first half, which was unacceptable. McTominay was definitely the worst player on the pitch by a country mile. And this guy is not good enough. And I get that he probably played because he can cover more ground than Eriksen, and Eriksen and the diamond wasn't working. But right now, as soon as Mason Mount's back, now Amrabat's back, even when Maino's back, for me, instead of Scott McTominay, if we're going to play a diamond, right now, Mount comes in for McTominay or Amrabat comes in for McTominay, depending on who's fit. I think Mejbri did a really, really good job in the diamond. Now, I'm going to get McTominay's match stats up for you in a second, because it was particularly poor. But I want to talk about some of the positives as well. I think the biggest concern for United, I think, is tactically. They seem very happy not on the ball, or not keeping the ball, or not progressing the ball. I just think, for me, tactically, Ten Hag wants a team that's good in build-up, hence why he signed Onana. And I think Martinez is good in build-up, and some of our players are good in build-up. We're okay in build-up from the back, but then we have midfielders that don't want to receive the balls. Scott McTominay likes to hide behind the midfield lines. So obviously, because our centre-backs are getting better at breaking lines, and we've got some players that are good on the ball, and we've got a keeper and Onana that's good on the ball, it's not too bad. But Ten Hag obviously wanted Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong was the dream signing for United. You can see that Frankie de Jong would elevate this midfield, and you can see why, because Frankie de Jong was one of those players that would always run off the ball from midfield, receive the ball from the centre-backs. He was very comfortable on the ball, very press resistant, had that technical ability to break the lines, which is something that Manchester United is massively missing in the current midfield. Is we don't have someone that's really good at sort of sticking the ball between the goalkeepers and the centre-backs. We need a midfielder to drop deep, which is what Kobbie Mainoo did in pre-season. We need a midfielder to drop deep, sort of come between the centre-backs, get the ball off the keeper, and be able to break the lines, progress the ball through the midfield, and help him build up in that second phase, which is what we're massively missing. And I think that's why Ten Hag massively rates Kobbie Mainoo, because we saw in pre-season that Kobbie Mainoo actually has the ability to do that, because he's such a fantastic player. And I think that's the thing that we were lacking, in all honesty, as well. I think a lot of the time it was like Ollie ball, was like what we did a little bit at the end of our last season. And I get that we can't 100% play the way that Ten Hag wants to play, and we've got to play the scrappy football, where I can't really see what the ideology is, what the tactics is. I get that we somehow have to play this scrappy football because of the injuries, and that most of the core players have gone. So I'm not going to turn on Ten Hag because the football we're playing was awful, but it wasn't good football. And I did look at it and I said, tactically, I don't know what we're doing. It's like we're hitting and hoping with the ball. We're lumping up the balls, hoping we win the 50-50s as well. We were doing the high press at some points, and then other points we were like, nah, actually, we're not going to do the high press. We're going to sit off a little bit and do a low block. I just feel tactically it was all over the place. I do think I'm worried that some of the players weren't sure what they're doing or what Ten Hag's tactics were, or more so that some players have already lost faith in Ten Hag. Some of the dressing rooms already turned on Ten Hag, and that way they don't rate Ten Hag, so they're not listening to anymore. That potentially that is a big fear as well. But I have to say, look, Burnley did have 62% possession, and that is quite worrying. I guess we're away from home. We've got a lot of injuries. I think it's a scrappy win. But this Burnley side's rubbish. But we made them look good. This Burnley side, we conceded 12 shots to. They hit the post. Arguably they deserved the point from that game. And that does need to be questioned. For me, that is worrying. They're still so easy to play for our midfield. What we do is when we press up the top, and then we leave our fullbacks back. And then Burnley are just able to so easily press through this Manchester United midfield, just break through us. Once they get through our press, they can just run through the midfield and they can have attack. And I think Amrabat's going to solve a lot of problems. And I'm not going to be too negative, because I generally can see once injuries come back, and it feels like there's just more people are getting injured than people coming back. Reguilon's probably injured now. I don't know what we're going to do. His hamstring injury. Reguilon had a big injury record when we signed him, and we spoke about that as well. But I do think Amrabat coming back will solve a lot of problems, because as I'm going back to the midfield point I made, Amrabat doesn't hide in the midfield. Amrabat is good on the ball. I think Maino, you can see why he was such a young player. Ten Hag likes him so much in pre-season, because if Ten Hag wants to progress the style of football he wants to play, he needs a player like Amrabat or Maino with their ability on the ball in midfield, someone that's not going to hide. But also Manchester United need to become better off the ball in midfield, which I think is why he brought Mount to cover more ground, because it's so easy to play through our press and then just run right through us. But the most important thing, I think, in real summary of that game, is that Manchester United did get the 3 points. I thought Johnny Evans had a fantastic game. I've been very critical of Johnny Evans, but I thought he was fantastic. And I think Bruno had a bit of an iffy game to begin with, but then I think he had a good game, put in a really good cross in the 90th minute. And I have to say, Bruno had a moments game, but it was a good game. And I think when you've got a player like Bruno Fernandes, who a lot of people are quick to blame, when you have a game like that, Bruno and Rashford, a lot of Man United fans are quick to blame for things. And look, Rashford has been poor, and maybe Garnacho should have got a run in. But the thing about Bruno and Rashford, and particularly Bruno Fernandes, is if Man United are playing poor, but it only takes one moment to change a game, score a goal, and get the 3 points, no matter how crap we are, Bruno and Rashford are those players. No one else in our team can make things happen, and that's what Bruno did. And I think Bruno was actually okay in the second half. He really grew into the game. Once Bruno came more central in the second half, was in the first half, he was shipped out on the right and was allowed more control of the game. I thought Bruno was quite good. He was creating things. And I have to say, Man United need to drill more low crosses into the box. Delo, I think, in the first half, put a really good low cross into the box into Rasmus Højlund, who kind of glided in but couldn't get on the end of it. But Rasmus Højlund's there in the box. And I have to say, Delo defensively was pretty poor. But I think actually going forward, Diego Delo put in some really good dangerous crosses to Rasmus Højlund, who really didn't see much of the ball and had a bit of the graveyard shift today, in all honesty, Rasmus Højlund. But that's not really his fault. He just needs more service. But I do think once we do more crosses, he will be there more as well. But yeah, I mean, look, Tomine lost possession 12 times in the midfield and was kind of hiding. Højlund didn't see a lot of the ball. I don't think Rashford had a particularly good game, but Johnny Evans was a bright spark. I think Casemiro had his best game this season, actually. I think Casemiro was all right today. I think he's been poor this season, but I think Casemiro showed signs of improvement, which for me is the most important thing. I do think it was a good game for Casemiro, absolutely, as well. And I think, look, the injury situation is awful. I don't know what we're going to do about that and what we're going to do going forward. I think Amrabat's probably going to play right back and Delo's probably going to play left back, in all honesty, because Amrabat did play right back at parts in his career. He can be that inverted right back, potentially go into the midfield. But the good thing is Varane is back, Mount is set to be back, Amrabat is now back. Maino is only a week or two away, so at least you've got players that can bring things to the midfield. And now I'm not so worried about Johnny Evans, considering the shift he put in, but that was against Burnley. I think against a team like Arsenal or Man City, and look, we've got Man City end of October, we've got a month till Man City. We've just got to hope that the injury situation by the time we play Manchester City clears itself out. But I want everyone to smash the like button for Hannibal Mejbri, because he was a clear bright spark in a United side today that really lacked a lot of things. And everyone smashed the like button for Hannibal Mejbri. He did make a difference as well. Anyway, people, thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please do smash the likes. Please do subscribe. The only big criticism I have of Ten Hag before I sum up is the substitutions. I can't believe I've waited till 8 minutes into the video to say this, actually. This should have been something I addressed right at the beginning, the substitutions. We should have made subs earlier. We should have freshened up the midfield. We should have freshened up some key areas. I will be very critical on that. Manchester United desperately, and Ten Hag really should have made some substitutions, especially a lot earlier on. And I'm really surprised that we didn't do that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Smash the like, smash the subscribes. See you next time. Bye.